I was driving home late one night, the road stretching endlessly before me, swallowed by the inky darkness. My hands gripped the wheel a little tighter than usual. It wasn't fear, not yet, just the natural unease of being alone on a highway, flanked by dense, looming trees. It had been a long day at work, and all I wanted was to get home, sink into my bed, and let sleep take me. But fate had other plans. The first time I saw him, I barely registered it. Just a fleeting shape at the edge of my vision, standing on the shoulder of the road. A hitchhiker, I assumed. I drove past without slowing down. Something about him sent a shiver up my spine, but I brushed it off. Just my tired mind playing tricks on me. A few miles later, I saw him again. This time, I looked directly at him. He stood completely still, tall and gaunt, wearing what looked like an old tattered suit. His face was obscured by the shadows. I felt a prickle of unease but kept driving. Maybe he had a twin. Maybe I was just seeing things. But then, not 5 minutes later, he was there again. Exactly the same stance, the same ragged suit, the same unnatural stillness. My stomach twisted. There is no way he could have gotten ahead of me on foot. I pressed the gas pedal harder. I told myself it was a coincidence. Maybe there were multiple people hitchhiking on this road, but deep down, I knew better. I didn't dare stop. I just kept going, my heart pounding. That's when my headlights flickered. For a split second, the road was swallowed in complete darkness. And in that instant, I felt it. A presence in the passenger seat. The air turned ice cold, and I swear I heard breathing that wasn't mine. The lights came back on, and I turned my head sharply. The seat was empty. I exhaled shakily. I'm just tired, I muttered to myself, gripping the wheel until my knuckles turned white. Just tired. But then I saw him again. Not on the side of the road this time. Not ahead of me. But in my rearview mirror. I slammed the brakes so hard that my tires screeched against the asphalt. The car skidded, and my heart threatened to hammer out of my chest. I twisted in my seat, breath coming in short gasps. There was no one there. The road behind me was empty, stretching back into darkness. My breathing was ragged, uneven. I wiped the cold sweat from my brow and forced myself to keep driving. I needed to get home. I needed to be anywhere but here. I forced myself to focus on the road. My house wasn't far now, just a few more miles. I turned on the radio to fill the silence, to ground myself, static. I flipped through stations, static on every single one. And then, through the hissing white noise, a voice, not a song, not a DJ, just a whisper. Keep driving. I turned the radio off immediately. My heart was thundering so hard I could hear it in my ears. The road ahead twisted through the trees, and I swore I saw movement between the trunks, fleeting shadows shifting in the moonlight. I pressed harder on the gas. The road was eerily quiet, no other cars in sight. Just me, the endless stretch of asphalt, and the growing feeling that I was not alone. My phone vibrated on the passenger seat, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. I hesitated before picking it up, glancing at the screen. No caller ID. My gut told me not to answer, but my shaking fingers betrayed me. I lifted it to my ear. Hello? Silence. Then, just as I was about to hang up, the whisper came again. You should have stopped. I dropped the phone like it had burned me, my pulse roaring in my ears. My foot pressed harder against the gas pedal. I just needed to get home. I just needed to get home. My house came into view, and I nearly sobbed with relief. I pulled into the driveway so fast, I barely remembered turning off the car before sprinting inside, slamming the door behind me. I locked it, bolted every window, checked every room, every closet, every shadow. Nothing. I told myself I was safe. I told myself it was just exhaustion, a hallucination born from lack of sleep. But that night, as I lay in bed, I heard it again. The whisper, right beside my ear. I'm inside. I was walking home from work late one night. The streets eerily quiet. The air thick with an unsettling stillness. My apartment was only a few blocks away. But something about that night felt wrong. As I turned the corner onto my street, I noticed a figure standing beneath the dim glow of a flickering street lamp. He was tall, unnaturally thin, his face obscured by the shadows. He wasn't moving, just standing there, staring in my direction. I swallowed hard and kept walking, forcing myself not to look at him. Just a guy waiting for someone, I told myself, nothing to worry about. But as I passed, I felt the weight of his gaze heavy on me, pressing into my back. The urge to run gnawed at me, but I resisted. I wouldn't let paranoia get the best of me. I reached my building and fumbled with my keys, my hands trembling. I glanced over my shoulder. The man was gone. I exhaled relieved and hurried inside, locking the door behind me. My apartment was dark, quiet, safe. I tossed my bag onto the couch and went to the kitchen for a glass of water. The sound of the faucet running was oddly soothing, washing away my lingering unease. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Why didn't you say hello?" My breath hitched. My eyes darted to the window, my fingers tightening around the glass. Slowly, I walked over and peered outside. The street was empty. I locked my phone and took a shaky sip of water. It was probably just a wrong number, a coincidence. Then another buzz. "I see you." My heart slammed against my ribs. I turned off the kitchen light, plunging the room into darkness. My apartment suddenly felt too big, too open. I crept toward the window again, barely daring to breathe. Nothing. I was being paranoid. It was just some prank. That's what I told myself over and over. I forced myself to go to bed, but sleep didn't come easy. Every creak, every rustle of wind outside sent a jolt of fear through me. At some point, exhaustion won over fear, and I drifted into an uneasy sleep. Then, around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed again. My eyes fluttered open, heart pounding. I reached for my phone with shaking hands, dread pulling in my stomach as I read the new message. I'm inside. The air in the room felt heavier, suffocating. My fingers hovered over the call button, but before I could dial 911, I heard it, a slow, deliberate creak from the closet. I wasn't alone. I held my breath, every muscle in my body locked in terror. The silence stretched, thick and unbearable. Then, ever so slowly, the closet door inched open. A pair of eyes gleamed in the darkness, and then the lights went out. I don't know how long I was frozen in place, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. My phone slipped from my grip and hit the floor with a soft thud. The sound seemed deafening in the oppressive silence of my room. Then movement. A low guttural whisper slithered through the darkness. "Why did you lock the door?" My breath caught in my throat. I scrambled back against the headboard, my fingers gripping the sheets so tightly my knuckles ached. My mind raced. What do I do? Do I run? Do I scream? The whisper came again, closer. I was waiting. Then, an agonizing stretch of silence. My eyes darted to the doorway. If I could just make it to the hall. But before I could move, I heard something shift, an unnatural bone-cracking sound. A shape emerged from the closet. It was hunched, its limbs too long, its head cocked at an unnatural angle. In the faint sliver of moonlight filtering through my window, I saw its face. Or rather, the absence of one. A stretched, smooth expanse of skin where eyes, nose, and mouth should be. I swallowed a scream. My body refused to move, terror anchoring me in place. Then, without warning, it lunged. Instinct took over. I rolled off the bed just as it crashed onto the mattress, its clawed fingers sinking into the spot where I had been. I hit the floor hard, pain jolting up my arm, but I didn't stop. I scrambled to my feet and bolted for the door, yanking it open so hard it nearly ripped off the hinges. I didn't dare look back. I could hear it, its rapid, unnatural movements, the sickening click of its joints as it twisted toward me. I tore down the hallway and into the living room, throwing myself at the front door. My fingers fumbled with the locks, slick with sweat. Behind me, the thing let out a rasping breath, closer now. The lock finally clicked, and I wrenched the door open, stumbling onto the cold pavement outside. I turned, expecting to see it standing there, but nothing. My apartment was dark, silent, as if nothing had happened. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the sidewalk trembling, waiting for the sun to rise. The next day I broke my lease and moved out. But the messages didn't stop. Every night, a new one. I see you. Come back inside. And the worst one yet. You can't run forever.